I'm King Link, and it's May 4th as I record this, so May the 4th be with you. And it's time for the Humble Choice May 2023 review. This month we have 8 titles, an interesting list, let's just say that for now. I've played each game for an hour on stream, and now I can talk about which games are worth checking out, which games should be skipped, and who's going to enjoy each title. Let's just get started with what's on the screen. Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate Daemonhunters, XCOM in the Warhammer universe. I've struggled to get into the Warhammer lore, especially in the 40k universe, but I'll tell you straight out that Warhammer 40k has an amazing style, and Chaos Gate Daemonhunters consistently is impressive with its art, characters, armory, and weapons. There's also a major conflict on display here, with what feels like high odds. The game plays very similarly, perhaps too similarly to XCOM, but the style fits, and you'll play as the commander, leading units into a tactical battle against demons. The downside is this is still very much a Warhammer-based game, and I'm sure it's going to go deeper into the lore and backstory over time. The story does throw out terms, expecting the player to just understand them. The gameplay so far is just XCOM, though apparently they removed the chance to miss a target. They change your damage instead. An odd issue is the difficulty can't be changed after starting the game, which in the case of a 30-hour game really makes me hesitant to challenge myself. Pick this up if you like Warhammer 40k and XCOM. It's the same game as XCOM with some tweaks. Overall, that is a good thing, but there are a few XCOM titles that I'd put over this if I wasn't a Warhammer fan, especially Enemies Unknown and 2. I might even put Phoenix Point higher, but it is a question of the theme that you want. This game does look good though. Spiritfarer, Farewell Edition, a beautiful tale. Spiritfarer is gorgeous. Every moment I was staring at this game, I was amazed, whether it was the obscenely playful looking dog, the amazing character designs, the beautiful tranquil world, or even the strange creatures I've already found. This is just a feast for the eyes. The game itself is about Sharon, the ferryman of the dead in Greek mythology, giving his power to a girl and a dog, and they become the ferryman for the dead. This sounds like a downer, but in the first hour, it's surprisingly serene and peaceful. Now I know it's going to get emotional, but there's an uplifting feeling here as well. The movement, animation, and gameplay so far all work together and produce a unique and impressive game. I, however, don't know if there's going to be a hard challenge. This is supposed to be a nice experience. It does have a bit of resource management going on, but I assume you can't make too many mistakes here. Pick this up if you want something beautiful. This is just so impressive, and the gameplay feels like something that stands out. This game got a ton of attention when it originally came out, and it's easy to see why. It's over 20 hours long from what I hear, and I'm already looking forward to returning to it after this video is out. Bendy and the Dark Revival, Bioshock and horror, which together creates a bit of a problem. Bendy and the Dark Revival is the second in the series and the first we've seen in the Humble Choice. It's a survival horror game set in a Walt Disney-esque studio. At first, it has a decent number of jump scares, which is perhaps not great, but a form of horror. The level design is interesting, and while it would have been nice to use more color, it's a stylistic decision to go black and white, or rather brown and black. The story has some interesting thoughts, but also a few stumbling blocks, like an evil character that's just not even trying to hide it. The problem is after about 30 minutes, players will grab a wrench. Now, horror games have this problem where they give a weapon to the player and suddenly players are in a power fantasy. That happens here. But worse, this uses Bioshock's rules, so players can infinitely revive if they die, as long as they don't die to a specific ink demon, which will instantly kill the player and cause them to reload. Saving can be done at any time as well. The problem though is the minute I learned all these facts, I really didn't fear either the ink demon or the normal enemies, and I was able to melee the latter to death anytime I wanted. It's hard to be afraid of much in this game. Also, it feels like there's a story here that has links to the first game, but without playing that or having it, I'm also at a bit of a loss. Pick this up if you're already a Bendy fan. If you have the first game, this might be for you, especially if you like that one, but as a new fan, instead of being afraid or impressed, I was more angry. This game squandered 2 great ideas of a horror game or a game similar to Bioshock, and instead feels like it's unable to properly do either since it's trying to do both. Even running and hiding lacks purpose because players can just duck into a vent and get away from almost anything so far. Operation Tango, an online co-op spy game. Operation Tango is similar to We Were Here. Two players are trying to complete spy missions in enemy territory. One player will be a field operative and the other plays a hacker, though both characters will have a variety of tasks that they will need to collaborate on to work their way through each mission. The game requires online play but only needs one copy of the game, and the expectation is the only communication between the players is verbal, with no way to see each other's screens. Operation Tango should be played by friends. Random players definitely won't be as good, but a bigger problem is that Operation Tango is a single experience. Once players get through the entire game, the same experience definitely won't be as special. I actually forgot to record footage, and this is the second playthrough of the initial tutorial level. Even swapping characters didn't really change the experience. There are only 6 missions, and while there are 10 additional challenges in a new free DLC, this probably isn't the longest experience. Pick this up if you have someone to play with. If you get this game, this is enjoyable, and with the right partner, it's something else. The reason I forgot to record the footage was actually I was having an amazing time playing this game with my daughter, but we also got to 2 of the original 6 missions in the game, so as I said, it's not going to be that long. Windjammer 2, an arcade sports game, a sequel to the original. On Neo Geo, there was an interesting game called Windjammers where players would fling a disc back and forth to score points. Windjammers 2 came out of nowhere, reviving a game that had a cult following. This is like an HD remake of the original, now with online play and the same arcade mode. Did you notice I didn't say they made it better? This feels very much like a remake of the original, and I'm sure some fans of both games will be able to point to different pieces such as 4 new characters. However, they are also the target audience of the game. The game really doesn't have a great tutorial amounting to like 20 static images. The main game is just a line of battles with 3 difficulty where nothing is explained when you reach the bonus game, for instance, and online is just play against another opponent and that's it when you're done. The problem is there's enough strategy to the game that it could have used a small tutorial mode, but it isn't clear that the developers even made more than a bare bones experience. Perhaps because if it wasn't trial and error, it would be even more straightforward. Pick this up if you want to play a sports game against friends, especially Windjammers. The computer is way too good at this game, but also playing through this game against the CPU will only take about 30 minutes once you're good enough. This is meant to be played against other players, and online only had about 5 players when I started the game. Play this in local mode, or really just maybe play something else. Builder Simulator. A perfect example of why the simulator genre is both good and bad. Builder Simulator has players taking on the role of a one-man construction company and working on houses. It's a concept that has been done before, but with accessible controls, a large variety of tools, and a good level design, Builder Simulator is solid. The levels start out small and grow in the size of the projects, and there's also a sandbox and at least 16 contracts in the game. But there is a promise of more to come, which I don't know if the developers really will deliver on. The 3rd level made players repeat the 2nd level, the 4th level did the same as the end of the 3rd level, but made it even longer. It's an interesting concept for a game, but it quickly became filled with busy work, which admittedly is what making a building is. However, it is repetitive, and I don't know how much content there is in the game or how long it will continue to get updates. Also, this is by the same company as Train Station Renovation, which is a title I actually liked quite a bit, but it is also one that was better in small doses, like 30 minutes to an hour at a time, and this game gives the same feelings already. Pick this up if you like laid-back simulator games. This is a good concept, but it's also one that will probably only last a couple hours. Even if it is much longer, it's going to be like House Flipper or Lawnmower Simulator, which becomes a lot of grinding. Not that it's awful at that, but there are so many simulator games out there, and this one just feels kind of average. I still expect to play more just out of the casual interest in it, though. Behind the Frame, the finest scenery. A beautifully told hour-long story. Behind the Frame is gorgeous. There are beautiful animated scenes that will play out along with a solid point-and-click puzzle game that's pretty reasonable in difficulty. There are a ton of aha moments. There's also an interesting narrative being told here where, honestly, I'm not sure exactly what the story is. I've actually heard 3 different interpretations of the story outside of what I was thinking it was, and I'm actually glad that the game doesn't give a firm answer on which of these is correct, but it's left open for players to understand. That being said, I'm already done with Behind the Frame and finished it in that first hour. That's short, reminding me of games like Gorogoa, but also like Gorogoa, this is a beautiful experience, and it's touching to the point where I considered replaying it, especially with a story that may need a second playthrough to consider. Pick this up if you want a beautiful, art-filled game. This is unique in several ways, and the puzzles are solid. While the game is short, this is a title that I'll probably think about for some time. In that way, it kind of reminds me of Her Story, if you've played that. A game that I absolutely love, but also will sit back and just think about. Behind the Frame is short, but memorable. The Invisible Hand. Being a stock trader, only here, you can't lose. The Invisible Hand is another simulator game, and this time it's about the stock market. You're supposed to just compete against other stock traders because reasons for business, but all you're really doing is day trading, and while the game starts hectic, it's pretty relaxed for the most part, even having the ability to drink tea to slow down time or coffee to speed it up. The controls are pretty simple to learn, and the game has nice shortcuts so you can just click on the name of items to get the correct sheet so you can buy them. But man, everything here feels like a cheap simulator game. The models feel like they're straight out of an asset store, the characters make an annoying sound to the point where I would have preferred silence. There are a few clever lines, but nothing important is really ever said. In the first hour of gameplay, the game makes it blatantly easy to make money. It tells you which stock is going to go up and when. It gives you hints and with indicators telling you whether it's a real tip or not, but it's really obvious. There's also almost no challenge whatsoever, and I think I'm almost halfway through the game. I'm at the 3rd level out of probably 5. Pick this up if... Honestly, I don't think I'd pick this up. There's a game called Space Warlord Organ Trading Simulator that's equally short, but at least that one has a few fresh ideas. There's a lot of good economic trading games, but the Invisible Hand is just too easy and cheap to be worth the time. I'd probably recommend skipping this and looking into something with a focus on economics, maybe Off-World Trading Company or... God, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Capitalism 2. Yeah, those aren't about sitting at a desk trading stocks, but nothing is interesting about that here either. Also, there are swears in this game, but honestly, like I said, you just shouldn't be picking up this game. And that's the games for May. Man, I hate ending on a game like this. I think I'll actually change the video. So like always, we'll start with how the value of the bundle stacks up, and the answer depends on what you're interested in. First off, Spiritfarer isn't on this list, possibly due to a different name than what this system has, but it's going for $7 on Steam until May 11th. If it's already back to full price and that's all you want, the next Steam sale will probably have it at the same price. Warhammer has never been below $12, and Windjammer also hasn't hit that price, but I will mention that Windjammer at least was on Xbox Game Pass, though I don't believe it is anymore. Behind the Frame and the Invisible Hand are both pretty cheap. On average though, the prices aren't bad, but there are only a few standouts here. And that's also true for the bundle. This is probably the weakest month I've covered in quite a while, I think. And yeah, I might have a lower opinion overall, but there's not a real strong anchor to this month. I usually find a few games I'm happy to own, and while I did enjoy 3 titles, even in hindsight I'd probably only have picked up 1. I will call out that there isn't a roguelite in the list, which does feel fresh, but also that might be a way I'm going with the channel, not a negative of course. However, there are a couple of multiplayer games which are both refreshing and will upset some people. Speaking of those multiplayer games, I do want to bring up one other thing before we go to the tier list. In the bundle, there's a coupon for 45% off Operation Tango, the game in the bundle. What? Not only do you not need a second copy of the game, but the coupon makes the game $11, which is $1 cheaper than the bundle. Honestly, why would anyone take that deal? Seriously? And worse, if you only wanted Operation Tango, it's actually currently going for $8.55 on Steam. Now with all that said, let's talk about the tiers. 4 tiers: misses, average titles, strong contenders for the cost of the bundle, and the games worth the full bundle price. Remember, I'm not talking comparatively against other stores, but which game are worth $12 on their own, and we're using my opinions. Yours can differ. That is why we have YouTube comments. With that said, we'll start in the basement with a complete miss. We're going to go back to look at the Invisible Hand. This one gives me no joy. I could beat this game in maybe 2 or 3 hours with no difficulty from the look of it, but also there's nothing that really interested me in it. This is one of the worst simulators I have ever played. And we'll move on to the average tier right away, starting from the bottom, which is Bendy and the Dark Revival. Now I'm sure this game has fans, every game does, but this one just didn't excite me, and it's mixing a game I absolutely love in BioShock with a genre I hate, but feels more like a mismatched puzzle piece more than a singular experience. Actually, BioShock with a more heavy focus on horror does sound pretty good. This one just didn't do it right. Next up in the average tier, we have Builder Simulator. This isn't necessarily a bad game, it just doesn't stand out or warrant a ton of attention. I'll return, I'll play it for 30 minutes, and then I'll go play something else multiple times, I'm sure. It's just too repetitive to do a deep dive in, and there's a limit to the amount of content on it right now from what I've seen. And at the top of the average tier is Windjammers 2. This is the second time I tried to play this, and within 45 minutes I kind of had my fill. Granted, maybe playing local head-to-head will be more enjoyable, but there's so many games I could do that in. I doubt I'd pick this one up over so many of those others. And here's how the tier list looks after 4 games. Now we have 4 more titles to go, and those are of course the ones I enjoyed more. Let's get started with the strong contenders. At the bottom of the tier list is Operation Tango. I enjoyed playing this with my daughter and will probably keep playing it. It is only 6 missions, which probably is what holds it back, but also this is a very unique title to play through, and if you have a second player that you can team up with online, this will be even better. The top of the strong contenders is Behind the Frame. I love this game. I intentionally finished it on stream, and while I can go play the DLC and chase a few achievements here, just the experience here feels exceptional. And man, the artwork is consistently great. I'd actually prefer 8 one-hour titles if they all hit this bar, though not many do. And that is what we have with just 2 final games to go. Let's just see which order they're going to be in. The bottom of the full bundle tier is Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate Daemonhunters. There's a reason that game is here. It's a large XCOM style battler and it's well designed. This could be worse, but the art design really stands out and the gameplay is tight. If you're not a Warhammer fan, this will likely be a bit weaker, and technically I'm not in that fandom, but I can absolutely respect a well designed title. And the top of the full bundle price is the game I'm most happy to have in my collection. It is Spiritfarer. This is a beautiful, enjoyable, relaxed, chill, long title. There's just so much here to love, and I'm excited to get started playing this weekend. It's again the character designs that really stand out, but also a question of where the game will go and how the gameplay will work. I'm really looking forward to finding out. And that's what I have for this month. Now, I know I said that this is one of the weaker months, and I still believe that. Yes, if you put it next to the other months, it's probably the same tier levels, but the tier list tries not to focus on price. Once you factor in the price and how many people are excited about each title, and more, you'll be able to see why I'm so down on this list. On the other hand, you probably disagree with me, so let me know what you think down in the comments, and feel free to suggest how to differentiate the best and worst months, or what metrics you use to decide that. Now, whether you agree with me or not, I will bring up one other bundle. I've been trying to do this to give people an option, and there's a fantastic one right now. It's called Feel the Rhythm Bundle, and inside is 7 rhythm games. They look good, and I have heard people excited about Trombone Champion. I think No Straight Roads got a lot of attention earlier. I don't know why yet, but for me, I didn't know about Beat Hazard 3, and I now own it. I've somehow found an hour to play with this hectic week, and it's a great improvement in that series. Still early access, but they have a new Galaxy mode in which you can explore a nebula of your favorite music, artists, genres, or whatever. I believe that bundle ends on May 17th, so you might have time to check it out. And like always, I don't put a sponsored link, but I will try to put a link to that bundle in the description if I remember. Now before we go, just a short rant. I recorded this on May 4th. There's a new Star Wars game out, which had a previous title, which would have been perfect for the bundle, and it's not here. What were you thinking, Humble? Come on, that advertisement just writes itself. Alright, oh well. With that said, I'm thinking about making another video this month. Like I said, maybe a roguelite related one. It's something I've been toying with a bit, so if you're curious, consider subscribing. It is not a title I've talked about before, at least not that I remember. Leave me a like, a dislike, a comment, or share the video. All of that helps me out. And if you want to see more from me, you can check out one of these videos on the screen. See you next time. Oh, and happy Cinco de Mayo, belated or otherwise.